The Might and Mastery season contained an enormous amount of updates, both to currently viable Pokemon and also to Pokemon that have not seen competitive play in a very long time. On the one side, you have new additions like Rollout Blastoise and Psywave Lapras, and then on the other side, you've got things like Air Cutter Golbat, Dazzling Gleam Sableye, a lot of very interesting coverage moves and new attacks that have been added to these Pokemon. This video is going to be super special because I have 99 unique Pokemon to try. Every single one of these teams includes at least one Pokemon that was recently changed due to the Might and Mastery season, if not 2 or even 3. But regardless, there are 99 unique Pokemon in these teams. It was a really difficult challenge to make, and as you can tell by the length of the video, there are a ton of battles here. Make sure to use the timestamps down below. You can skip around and watch whatever moveset that you wanted to see, but I thought this would be a really good guide, not only to show you how much has actually changed with this meta update, but also to inform you about what you should power up, what you should build, what maybe you should spend an elite TM on, because there's a lot of moves, and this challenge drained my Stardust by at least 2.5 million, and it also took all of my charged TMs. I had over 200 charged TMs before I started this challenge. Now, I've got 0. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Our first team is actually going to be Blastoise with Rollout. We've got the Air Cutter Golbat and then the Dazzling Gleam Sableye in the back. This is actually my first game of the season, but still, it's a really fun showcase. We're going to see a Talonflame lead. It doesn't get much better than this. My opponent swaps though into Morpeko, and this is a total disaster because I have no answer for Morpeko on this team. I've got Water type Blastoise, I've got Flying and Poison type Golbat, and then I've got a Shadow Sableye in the back. It's going to deal resisted Shadow Claw damage and needs to get to the Dazzling Gleam in order to KO that Morpeko. So I'm in a really tough spot. I'm gonna go ahead and swap into my Sableye here, but now this Morpeko's in dark mode and Aura Wheel would be so hard hitting, and it basically one-shots my Shadow Sableye. Morpeko is able to go ahead and Thundershock all the way down, and now I've got basically an impossible decision to make. I had such a good lead, everything was looking up, it was looking so bright, and then Morpeko came in to ruin the party. I'm gonna go ahead and shield here, even though this is probably a bait, and it is a bait, so my opponent is not letting up the gas anytime soon. This Blastoise with Rollout, I have such high hopes, so much enthusiasm for this Pokemon, but judging by this first game, it looks like a total disaster because Morpeko is going to be really impossible to stop for me. Morpeko actually KOs me with Psychic Fangs, adding insult to injury. I bring in the Golbat here. I'm trying to pace to the attack. I get to the Air Cutter, but my opponent does throw the charge attack. And honestly, this is a massive flop to start the video on. But yeah, we got swept by a Morpeko in game number 1 of our 99 unique challenge. But we'll see how the rest of the video goes. Lots of battles still to be played. We're gonna go ahead and play Swalot in this game number 2. Swalot did just win a regional piloted by Nickname in Stockholm. This Pokemon's got Mudshot, Ice Beam, and the newly buffed Sludge, which I definitely think is the key move to making this Pokemon viable. Opponent is playing Water Gun Pelipper, so interesting flex. That's not a buffed Pokemon that I would highlight per se. I'm gonna bring in the Dewgong though, and this Dewgong actually did require an elite TM. This is a Ice Shard, Icy Wind, Aqua Jet Dewgong, all right? I know, I went crazy for this. A lot of people that are hardcore PvPers are gonna look at this and say, why in the world did you spend an elite TM on the Aqua Jet Dewgong? For the content, obviously. Gonna go and throw the Icy Wind into the Pelipper. They just tried to hit us with a Blizzard, which would have been very heavily resisted by my Ice and Water typing, but I still threw up the shield just in case it was the big cane. I'm gonna land in the Aqua Tail as well, so where are the haters at now? Pretty silent, yeah, that's what I thought. We're gonna see Grovyle come in. I always have to look at this Pokemon's name because I definitely forget it most of the time, but yeah, Grovyle. Grovyle's gonna go and throw an attack. This is gonna be Aerial Ace, which is enough to KO, so I come back in with the Swalot. So a couple of rules about this challenge. The first is that if I don't use a Pokemon in battle, it goes onto the reserve bench because I don't want to bring, for example, something like Lapras into this game and then not play it, and then you don't get to see what it can actually do. So that's the first rule. The second rule is that Shadows and regular variants count as 2 separate Pokemon. So you will see Shadow Lapras later on in this video, as you will see Shadow Rollout Blastoise as well. So there's still a lot of variety, and the Shadows do play differently. Shielding situations are different, win conditions are different. So I do think it's important to spotlight them both. Gonna go into this next battle against Louise. I'm gonna play Grumpig this time. They're gonna lead Shadow Palkia. Oh crap. As you know, I did make a scroll kit video on Shadow Palkia. I do think Dragon Tail is the way, so this trainer has my approval. I'm gonna bring in the Unova Stunfisk. Now, this Pokemon got a very covert buff in the fact that Discharge is gonna be a little less energy, so I am able to pace to it really quickly. At this point though, this Palkia has built up a lot of energy. I'm gonna go ahead and shield and try to maybe Thundershock through this thing. it throws a frustration. My gosh, yeah, we need a better way to access charge attacks for our shadows. Please, Scopely, I guess, give us a chance. Having one Team Go Rocket take over every 3 months is just no good. It's no bueno. We need something. Gonna throw Discharge into Kangaskhan and then swap into Air Slash Mandibuzz. Again, another covert buff because Mandibuzz did gain a little bit of an edge with Foul Play. Foul Play energy cost was reduced. You see this most notably in Pokemon like Sableye that now only require 5 Shadow Claws to get to the Foul Play. Opposing Kangaskhan does throw the Outrage. I know this Pokemon does get access to Power Up Punch and I think Crunch as well. So not a whole lot to worry about. Opponent comes in Deoxys, and this is Zen Headbutt Deoxys. I do think if this was counter, it'd be a little bit more competitive, but now that I have so much energy on the Mandibuzz, I'm in a really good position. Gonna try to fire off. It doesn't really matter what your timing is because it's 3-turn moves on both sides. Zen Headbutt being a 3-turn move. Gonna go ahead and swap now into Grumpig because I want to see some play from this. And as you probably notice, this Pokemon did have Psychic, and that was a mistake. I need to TM and fix that. But Dynamic Punch did get an energy reduction, which is why I was playing Grumpig, and it did get access to Psywave. Next battle is gonna be, we're actually gonna play a very interesting team. I'm kind of ABA weak to Mandibuzz though, so this is a little bit difficult, but we are gonna see how much a Dazzling Gleam does to a Mandibuzz. This Sableye is really sick because I remember years back in Tampa, I was driving around with friends and apparently someone caught a rank 1 Sableye. It was 0-15-15. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's so sick. I want it. But at that point, you would only need like the purified version for return, right? Well, years later, it actually is viable, and this rank 1 Sableye that I managed to catch is going to come in clutch here. I do land the first Dazzling Gleam. See about how much damage that does. Mandibuzz does get you another attack as well, which is totally fine. We're playing this team as an ABA style, so I'm not super concerned. Coming now with Pidgeot. This is Gust Air Cutter Pidgeot, and we are trying to chop this opponent up like Naruto with his wind style, right? We're gonna go ahead and fire off the Air Cutter into the Lapras. It does boost your attack, and now these Gusts are really starting to chunk. Opposing Lapras is gonna get to the Sparkling Aria here. It's 12 turns for each of the Sparkling Arias, and then I think it's 14 turns for the Ice Beam. I know everyone in the comments will correct me, but they are really close in terms of the pacing. Gonna throw another Air Cutter. I do get the shield, and suddenly this Pidgeot is wreaking havoc. Opponent swaps into Jump Bluff, and this is perfect for my flying type. Now that I'm double boosted, I'm just gonna keep throwing these Air Cutters, keep spamming these charge attacks. Opponent throws on unfortunate timing there, giving me a full free Gust. If you're playing a 2-turn Fairy Wind user, you wanna throw on intervals of 3 against a Pokemon like Pidgeot. You wanna throw 3 Fairy Winds. I just heard a bird over there. Into the Gust. Now I bring in the Mew. This Mew, yes. I'm just gonna answer your question. Yes, I did Elite TM Psyshock onto this Mew because I wanted to try it. Psyshock did get buffed as well. Opponent comes in with the Lapras. I'm gonna go ahead here for the Wild Charge to try to KO this Pokemon, and then I think I can still get to a Psyshock here against the Jump Bluff, and we are able to do that, which is super sick. Psyshock did get a mild buff, and it is enough to KO the Jump Bluff at that range. Although I don't think Psyshock is overly viable in competitive play, just due to the fact that there's so many dark types in the meta, you don't want to be throwing resisted Psychic type damage, even if it was buffed. Next opponent's gonna play Zygarde. I'm gonna play a XL Shadow Rollout Wailmer. Shout out to PvP Steve. I'm gonna swap now into my Alolan Ninetales, and my opponent did not switch out. I don't think they realized I was dealing double super effective damage, and they should have bailed. Now they come in with Marshtomp. This Ninetales is running Powder Snow as a fast attack, and I do have Dazzling Gleam as my secondary charge attack. That attack did get buffed in the new season update. I'm gonna go ahead and fire off the Dazzling Gleam here against that Marshtomp. Does it connect? Yes, it does. Does a ton of damage to the Marshtomp. It's cute, it's funny, but it's not gonna hold up against our Alolan Ninetales. Opponent does throw the Sludge, and I come in with the big Wailmer to roll out down. This Wailmer does have access to Body Slam and Scald. Opponent comes in with Watchog. This is a Pokemon that knows Bite. It's a normal type. Not overly dynamic. Anything with Bite is categorically not good unless you are Tyranitar in Master League, what, 6 seasons ago? Bite buff when? Question mark. Gonna throw that Scald. It does connect. Watchog is only 1457 CP, but it does go down. And as you saw there, we didn't even play our Amoongus, so that Pokemon does go onto a reserve bench, which we can later bring out into a upcoming battle. Gonna go ahead and lead the star of the show. This is Cradily. Cradily lead into Phalanx of all things. I'm looking at this team. I've got Piloswine, I've got Cradily, and I've got Emolga. I'm ABA weak to fighting types. I did not expect a fighter, and I really did not expect something with only fighting type moves. Phalanx is a mono fighting type in the sense that it just has counter, brick break, and I believe it's close combat or superpower. I think it's superpower. I am able to get to the Icicle Spear. This is a huge upgrade for Piloswine because Icicle Spear got distributed from the Walrein Fund into the Piloswine Mamoswine duo. Now we have got a Drifblim with a shield advantage. This is no bueno. I'm still in a very tough spot. Gonna bring in the Emolga now. Emolga Discharge did get buffed as well as Acrobatics. We saw this a little bit in the early season for play Pokemon. Some trainers were playing Emolga in competitive play. It's kind of fallen out as of late, but I do expect for it to still be viable in Great League and maybe make a resurgence to play Pokemon as well. Opponent does throw the Mystical Fire, which is a little bit saucy by them. It does boost their attack. Mystical Fire though, not gonna do too much damage if it does connect. We're gonna go ahead and throw another Discharge here. I'm gonna go for a really nasty Bullet Seed down with the Cradily, see if I can get this farm down. Opponent does throw another Mystical Fire. It's gonna be neutral, right? Because we are rock and grass, which is really good for us. In comes a Morpeko. Now that we've got this energy though, this is a different story. Gonna go ahead and fire off the Rock Tomb here against it. Try to debuff this Morpeko, slow it down. It is the last Pokemon, so they can't switch out. 3 more Bullet Seeds. Gonna try to throw another attack with him. Morpeko does outpace. This is gonna be Electric type Aura Wheel, and we hang on through it, which is really, really nice. Gonna throw one more Bullet Seed and then a Grass Knot. I wanna deal as much damage as possible. Even though both of these attacks are stab, I do think Grass Knot is a little more effective. And I swap into the Emolga to catch the charge attack from the Morpeko, and this is exactly what we needed to do to win. Aura Wheel does connect. Morpeko is getting weaker, and our Cradily is able to hang on, get to one more Rock Tomb, and KO this Electric type on the other side of the field, which is really nice. Big knockout, big win. Cradily is the truth. We've seen it all over the meta, and I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon. Next battle, let's see what we get. Rickety Master is gonna go ahead and lead Malamar. I've got a different Piloswine this time. This is the Shadow variant with Icicle Spear. In the back, I've got Drifblim, and it looks like I've got normal type Castform, which Hex did get a buff. So this Pokemon could be interesting. Icicle Spear does connect into the Malamar. I know that the Malamar did get recently buffed in the season update as well. It's only 10 turns to the superpower. So if I throw 2 Icicle Spears, 10 turns each, my opponent's got the back-to-back superpowers right now. That's why I'm not gonna shield here in case they do decide to throw it. Opponent does YOLO the superpower, coming in now with the Castform. I'm expecting another superpower here, but after they throw in the first one, the second one is gonna be weaker because that attack does drop your attack and defense. It still takes half of my health, which is quite a bit, but I do maintain my shield advantage. In comes Diggersby, and I'm feeling pretty good about this position because Drifblim is one of the hardest answers to Diggersby, and I do have it in reserve. I'm gonna go ahead and swap into the Drifblim now. Opponent comes in with Jellicent, and I'm applying so much pressure. The shield advantage is the main key here because my opponent has to make a decision to save the Jellicent or not. YOLO, we fire the Shadow Ball, and we're able to KO the Jellicent. In comes the Diggersby, and I get a full Hex through as well, which is insult to injury, but really good for us. They throw the Fire Punch. I shield because, you know, if it is the one-off Hyper Beam or something, you want to go ahead and shield the first one that comes through before you start Icy Wind debuffing, right? But I'm not super worried. This Diggersby is just gonna probably spam off some more Fire Punches. You can see where this game is going. I go back into Castform, and we're gonna see how much damage an Energy Ball does into a Diggersby here. Firing this charge attack off, it does connect, and it does KO. Normal Castform. I don't know, maybe there's something there. Maybe. We're gonna take a look at this next battle. I'm gonna leave Furret this time. Furret's Pokemon that got basically a brand new kit. So it got Sucker Punch as the fast attack. It has Trailblaze and Swift, which are 2 brand new charge attacks. I'm gonna lead into Superior. And as you can tell by my back line, I really don't have a hard answer to this Pokemon. I do have the Malamar in the back. We just saw the Malamar in the last battle from my opponent. And I do have a Charm Shadow Alolan Ninetales. This is a Charm Alolan Ninetales with Psyshock. So I am gonna use a buffed move in that kit as well. Gonna go ahead and fire off the Swift here. Now that I'm Trailblaze buffed, this might do more damage than they expect. Gonna go ahead and fire off the Swift. It does take out the Superior, which is super, super nice for us. In comes a Primeape. I'm not gonna go ahead and force the issue and swap because I wanna line up my Charmer here. Opponent did do several karate chops. And I'm worried about the close combat, but it's just a Rage Fist. Opponent comes in with Drifty B, and I'm feeling pretty good about this position. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this charge attack to try to take away the shield from my opponent and apply some pressure. Opponent does shield. At this point, I'm gonna no shield. I'm putting it all on the back of the squid, if it does have a back or shoulders or whatever. And my opponent actually baits, which means I'm able to deal even more damage. I do kind of play a little bit weird though, and I let my opponent overcharge quite a bit, which might come back to bite me here in the end. Opponent does throw the Icy Wind, but I just need to try and farm down. Oh, and we're able to do it, which is so brutal. I'm gonna throw one Psywave into the foul play to try to peel away this shield from the Primate, and we do get it. How close am I to the next? Close enough. Gonna throw the second foul play here. I think this superpower would do a little bit more damage because the foul play is resisted. However, I went for the stab move, so that's an interesting question, right? If I had unlimited time, unlimited hours in the day, I'd actually make graphics to show you what is a more efficient move in a neutral matchup. Maybe one day. We're gonna go ahead and play this next battle. Bombardier taking to the sky. It's got Sucker Punch now, brand new upgrade, and it's got Rock Tomb, which recently got buffed. So this Pokemon is a menace. Opponent swaps in the Guzzlord. I'm gonna go with Karate Chop Machoke. This Machoke has Dynamic Punch, which recently got buffed, which means I'm gonna get to it really quick with the Karate Chops. As you can see, I'm building up so much energy. This Pokemon is also a mono fighting type Pokemon in the sense that it doesn't get any other coverage moves besides the fighting type moves. That's why a lot of people are opting for a purified Machoke, because then you get return in addition to something like Karate Chop, or excuse me, in addition to something like Cross Chop or Dynamic Punch. Opponent does let me KO the Guzzlord. I'm gonna go ahead and fire off a charge attack here into the Cresselia. Dynamic Punch resisted. Does do a lot of damage. I'm gonna come in now with the Bombardier, throw the Rock Tomb before my opponent gets to the Moonblast, because I do not want to take any super effective damage or get debuffed. Trying to get to another Rock Tomb, and we do. Opponent doesn't know the Sucker Punch counts, and honestly, I can't blame them. This is a brand new Pokemon to use. Do land a second Rock Tomb. That one is on the charge attack priority. How you doing?
Yeah, it's a little baby turtle.
And I am able to absorb this Grass Knot, no problem. I call it. No way that was a Moonblast. Gonna have the Shadow Alolan Marowak come in. Do we call a second bait here? 2 for 2, calling the baits on the Bombardier, and this is absolutely vicious gameplay. Sucker punching that Shadow Alolan Marowak all the way down. Opponent top lefts and just straight up quits the battle. Bombardier basically soloed the team, and if you notice, the third Pokemon we didn't even use, so that does go into our reserve. Next game, Gardevoir into Drampa. Oh, this is awful. I have to play just really weird here because I've got Volt Switch Fortress with the newly buffed Rock Tomb. I've got Drampa that just got Swift, and I do have Spear Tomb, which does have Sucker Punch and the newly buffed Rock Tomb as well. My opponent does something unfathomable and actually switches Ludicolo into this Fortress. All right. I'm Bug and I'm Steel. I am double resisting all these Razor Leafs, and I'm dealing super effective damage back with my Volt Switches. So I just need to get through this Ludicolo. I need to protect myself in case this is like a Scald or something. So I do shield. Opponent is unable to get to another move, and I've set myself up perfectly. This is a really heavy, fast attack oriented team. Charm, Gardevoir, Razor Leaf, Ludicolo. This is a tap team. All right, you're giving everyone in competitive PvP a bad name. I know you should be able to play what you want, all right, don't get me wrong, but honestly, not impressed with this team. Gonna go ahead and fire the double Earthquakes here. Opponent's final Pokemon is Umbreon. Maybe they meant to switch this Pokemon in. Instead, I will concede that that would have been a lot worse for me. I'm gonna go ahead and fire off the Rock Tomb here into the Umbreon to debuff it. It is the final Pokemon, and that was a charge attack priority tie. So at this point, I'm feeling really good about the matchup. I come in out with the Drampa, not wanting to reveal my Spirit Tomb unless I have to, and opponent top lefts. They can see what's about to happen. They can see I'm gonna get to either double Swifts or Fly plus Swift, and I'm gonna be able to win that battle, and I didn't even show the third Pokemon yet. So Spirit Tomb also goes into our bench. Guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, leave me a like. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this 99 unique challenge, because now we've got a Swampert lead into Jumpluff. I do have Sludge on this Pokemon, and I do have 2 grass types in the back that I can hit this Pokemon for super effective damage with. Gonna fire off the first Sludge. I do get the shield. Gonna swap now into Shadow Cradily with Rock Tomb. Opponent comes in with Annihilate. I do have the energy for the Grass Knot, so I'm gonna try to threaten a shield here. And we don't get the shield, but we do debuff the opponent. Obviously, it always is gonna work that way. Opponent does get to a charge attack. Ice Punch is still super effective because a rock doesn't resist ice. However, opponent goes for the Rage Fist, and that means now I'm gonna go for the Grass Knot. I'm gonna full send this damage. If they no shield, they might get knocked out. Opponent does shield, really well played by them. Interesting decision to make. I come back in with the Swampert because I do consider the Swampert basically useless against Jumpluff up energy, although a lot of Jumpluffs these days are not even running energy balls, so it is a bit of a toss-up. Gonna swap now into the Jumpluff after I gather some energy and go for the full Fairy Wind down. That will be super handy later. Opponent comes in with the Azumarill. This is not Acrobatics Jumpluff. Or excuse me, this is not Aerial Ace Jumpluff or Energy Ball Jumpluff. This is Dazzling Gleam Acrobatics Jumpluff. So Azumarill is the last thing we wanted to see here. Opponent does throw the Ice Beam. That's going to be double super effective damage, so I do go ahead and shield that up. Going to go for 4 Fairy Winds into the Acrobatics. I know their last Pokemon is still the Jumpluff, and I'm being cautious not to allow them to catch. I come in with the Swampert for the Wombo combo play, but this might be a big mistake because my opponent might be able to overcharge now that they have their own Jumpluff on the field. Opponent does fire off the Energy Ball, double super effective. Swampert's out of here. Exit stage right. Now it's Jumpluff versus Jumpluff, the final showdown. This is it. Aerial Ace does connect. It's Aerial Ace and Energy Ball. Hold on. Let's see how much damage this Acrobatics does. And boom, that's so much damage. I need one more to connect into this Jumpluff, and I need to hang on through one more Aerial Ace. If they get to the third Aerial Ace, I'm screwed. But now I get to the Acrobatics, and I'm able to two-shot this Jumpluff. All right, look, I know there's a lot of Jumpluff propaganda out there right now. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. Acrobatics is the way. I don't care what side you're on of the debate, Acrobatics is the play. Going to this next battle, let's see who our opponent is. We've got Swifty Koala, maybe a Taylor Swifty fan. We're gonna see a Grumpig in the lead. I have Poison Sting Roserade, and that is a poison type, which is gonna take super effective from the Psywave, so I do bail out of there. I'm coming in now with the Shadow Blastoise. I like Blastoise a lot. In more playtesting, I do prefer the Skull Bash normal Blastoise, but Shadow with Ice Beam is also very, very potent. Opponent does get to a charge attack here, and I'm gonna go ahead and shield, but the Grumpig pacing is honestly super fast, so they get to another one almost immediately. I've already shielded once, I'm just gonna shield again because I do not want to let my Roserade line up against it. Togetic comes in. This is gonna be interesting, right? I do fire off the Hydro Cannon. Opponent shields, and I'm trying to push for the Ice Beam here. I do get the Ice Beam. This will be super effective damage if it does connect. Togetic, are you gonna shield this up? No, they don't, and I do land it. Oh my gosh, so much damage. I do not want to take an Aerial Ace on my Roserade for obvious reasons, so I do stay in here, but it's this Psyshock. Opponent also trying newly buffed move, so I have to give them credit for that. I Poison Sting down with the Roserade. Now I've got a Wigglytuff in the back and a healthy Roserade with probably 2 Poison Stings of energy. Opponent comes back in with the Grumpig. I swap into Wiggles, and they get to a third Dynamic Punch, man. That's so fast. Incredibly fast. But their last Pokemon is Morpeko, and I am shredding it with the charms. I'm gonna go for the Swift here, and honestly, I don't know the attack stats of the Roserade and Morpeko, but I think Roserade has a chance to win the Charge Attack priority, but we don't even get there because that Morpeko does get charmed down. Gonna go to this next battle. We've got Dusknoir in the lead. I'm gonna play the newly buffed Galarian Weezing. I do not have a Shadow Galarian Weezing because I missed the event, and I'm still super salty about it, so please, our Scopely Overlord should bring that back. Chestnut lead in this game here. We got the Marshtomp as our third Pokemon. We did see it earlier on. It's a bird over there. We did see it earlier on, and we faced off against it. It does have Sludge, which recently got buffed. It's a fun Pokemon. It's bulkier than Swampert, but it's still, you know, kind of a side grade. We're gonna go ahead and throw off a Shadow Punch into the Stunfisk here. If you're wondering if I had to remove the Community Day Shadow Ball to get Dynamic Punch on Dusknoir, yes, I did in fact have to do that. Gonna go ahead and tank this charge attack from the Galarian Stunfisk. I almost said Unova because we haven't seen a Galarian Stunfisk in so long. Gonna go ahead and fire up the Mud Bomb here. If my opponent does decide to shield, I've got 2. Oh, and I'm able to Mud Shot down, which is super nice. At this point, my opponent has a choice to make. They are going to decide to come in with the Chestnut, and guess what? I denied a Vine Whip, and I'm gonna throw the Sludge. Does it connect? Come on, wow! Oh my gosh, Marshtomp, charge attacked and one-shotted We're one mud-shotted down, 2 different opponents. My opponent's final Pokemon is the Bastiodon. So the Grass and Steel Core is still alive and well. Gonna bring in the Dust Noir here and try to land a Dynamic Punch, but the Bastiodon does get to a charge attack, so I'm forced to shield here. Last shield of the game, Bastiodon's on the field, not a big concern. Galarian Weezing would have a tough time in this matchup, but we're gonna see just how much this DP does. Boom, it's a lot of damage. I took a screenshot because anytime a Bastiodon gets folded, somewhere, somebody celebrates. One trainer is just bursting with joy. Another Dynamic Punch on a 1 HP Bastiodon, just send the message, get that thing out of here. Nobody likes seeing Bastiodon, come on, come on, come on. It's season 22 of GBL, right? Bastiodon was so like season 6, come on. Next battle, let's see what we get. Guzzlord this time, Typhlosion. Guzzlord is the first Pokemon I believe that I've used that did not get a significant buff, but I do love the heck out of this thing. And I'm pairing it with Rabombi. So bear with me, please. Gonna go ahead and throw off the Crunch here into the opposing Lantern. This is a really good position for my Guzzlord to be in. Guzzlord is a menace for this team. It's a menace still in this meta, and I think it's a very viable pick for climbing teams, for play Pokemon teams, for whatever you wanna do. Looking for a big Dragon Tail down. Opponent does get to 1 more charge attack, but I'm pretty sure it's just Surf. Saludos, it's just the Surf. Opponent comes back in with the Typhlosion. I'm able to land 1 more Dragon Tail and then fire off the Crunch because it's 3 turns to the Dragon Tail, 4th turn throws the move, 5th turn is when Incinerate damage applies. Now I come in with the Jellicent. I do need to fear the Thunder Punches, but I'm not gonna shield the first one. No way this is Solar Beam. All right, thank you. I do absorb the first Thunder Punch, but as you can see, it does so much damage. I'm definitely gonna need to shield the second one here. Opponent does throw it, I do shield it. 1 more Hex, and a great catch by them to go into their Grass type. However, we do have a bug in the back, bringing out the Rabombi. It just gained access to Charm. Is it good? Probably not. I think there are much better moves for this Pokemon, but we're trying everything here. Aerial Ace does connect, and I forgot for a second that even though I had wings, I'm not a flying type. Kind of like Beedrill, I take an enormous amount of damage. However, 1 more Charm means we get to the Bug Buzz against this Typhlosion, and we're gonna force the shield here or get the KO. Bug Buzz gets shielded, in comes the Jelly Meister, and the Surf is reached. Absolutely insane. Honestly, kudos to my opponent for swapping and catching that Surf onto the Superior. And also, I'm so sorry that I played Rabombi against you. That's probably literally the last thing you expected to see. Last battle of this half of the video, we're gonna go ahead and lead our Belly Bolt into Mandibuzz. Belly Bolt did gain access to Sucker Punch. I know some creators like Homesize Henry have been able to make this Pokemon work. I am still really struggling with it. It's slower than I want it to be. It doesn't do as much damage as I need it to. And it's not as bulky as it looks. It looks like one of those Squishmallow Pokemon plushies, right? It looks like that, but it doesn't play like that. I do get off my first charge attack. Opponent is gonna go for another one here. I don't have a good answer to Mandibuzz in the back. Although I've got some neutral ones, I do want to get off this last parabolic charge against the flying type. I do connect, and it does boost my attack, and the opponent comes in with Clodsire, which is really tough. I'm gonna go into my Gliscor now. This is a really interesting team. Sand Attack, Gliscor, and I've got Corviknight in the back. The only Pokemon on this team that did get recently altered is going to be the Belly Bolt, but these 2 Pokemon in the back are meant to support it, take on some of those ground and grass types that it's really concerned about. Gonna throw the Aerial Ace. I do get the shield, which is super cool, and I get to the Earthquake as well, even though my timing is awful. My opponent is able to get 1 more Hex. Earthquake does connect, which is super cool. My opponent does have a lot of energy now. I come in with the Belly Bolt. Opponent overcharges even more with the Hexes, allowing me to get to 1 more parabolic charge. I do pull the shield, and now it's all up to my Corviknight. That is my last hope, my last chance. Surf connects. I come in with the Corviknight. I'm really hoping this is just a Surf, but I have to call it, and I've not been counting. And it's a freaking Shadow Ball, which really hurts. Opponent comes back in with the Clodsire. And at this point, Stone Edge is going to do a lot of damage. It does connect, takes me down into the red, and now I'm just overcharging. I'm hoping 2 Sky Attacks will be enough to do it. Opponent does not have the Switch Timer available to them. I let them throw because I want to make sure I'm throwing on good timing myself. So after the Charge Attack, I throw 1 more Sand Attack into the Charge Attack. That's where I'm able to land it. Sky Attack, same type attack bonus. Ooh, it's gonna be close. I have the Sky Attack, but I don't throw it. My counts were off yet again. I was not counting the Jellymeister. I was not counting the Clodsire. And essentially, I give away all my chances to win that game. Giving the Jellicent the extra Hex was obviously not a good start, but again, not managing my energy, not being aware of my opponent was the nail in the coffin. That's all for the first half of this video. Second half, coming right up. And God, there's a guy walking behind me with his shirt off, and I'm gonna have to cut this recording because of that. So here we go.